Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So today is the second lecture on regeneration of spent liquor, which is 29th lecture of organic waste industries. We have discussed the regeneration of spent liquor or recovery of this white liquor in the previous lecture. So now we shall continue the same topic but with some additional information. So today's lecture it includes certain things like operational problem. What are the main problems that we encounter during this recovery of white liquor? Are the essential chemicals and the functions, and that why these are important, and which kind of functions we can carry out using these regenerated recycled chemicals, and then what are the environmental challenges that can be faced during these you can say that recovery processes, and the modern approach how we can see it, and also what could be the future like aspects or outlooks, that how we can see this recovery process in the future. Okay, talking about the operational problems that we encounter during craft recovery process, we say that though craft recovery process is very simple and straightforward process, but still it is not easy to operate at high efficiency. You remember we have discussed before too that in craft recovery process almost 50% of the original wood chips, they are converted into the pulp actually. But so we say that there are many problems, they both occur both mechanically as well as in the process. Similarly, when we talk about the recovery process itself, then there are different things involved. We remember that we have talked that there are evaporators, then there is a burning process there, and then the lime kiln involved. So there are problems associated with each and every part, but we have to look for a, like you can say, moderate way where the problems are minimized. Similarly, when we talk about evaporators, then in case of evaporators we have different problems like associated with the liquor side fouling, how you can say that foul side smells, and there are also tube crayon involved, and also sometimes foaming is involved. Sometimes liquid becomes so much concentrated that it is hard for the boilers to you can say evaporators to carry out the function. In case of lime kilns, there are problems associated like low thermal efficiency, high fuel consumption, or you can say that there is chain damage can also occur, and also poor lime quality can also occur, can also affect the process itself. While in the casticizing unit, there are problems like over liming, poor mud settling, or washing efficiency can be low, and there could be high sodium or low sodium solid contents in the lime mud. So it means that we have to look for a moderate way. But once you encounter this problem, then there are always something you can do to counter effect this problem. So depending on the performance of recovery boiler and the casticizing plant, the amount and the way in which makeup chemicals are added in the system, we can always control these parameters, and thus in this case we can also control the upcoming problems, and also these operational problems can be reduced by increasing, you can say that by continuously monitoring these processes, and changing these parameters is very to control these things that are such problems. So mainly recovery process is done to for these four main attractive functions. One of them is that we have to minimize the environmental impact of waste material. That is, waste material is the spent liquor or the black liquor collected after the pulping process here. And the second thing is we can recycle the pulping chemicals that are sodium hydroxide and sodium sulfide. Just like we get sodium carbonate in the cases in the black liquor, and then this sodium carbonate can be recycled in the form and reshaped, you can say that transformed into sodium hydroxide active form. Similarly, we can co-generate steam and power. If you remember, we have talked that black liquor can be used as a biofuel. So this black liquor can be used to generate steam, high temperature steam, and then also it can be used as a power generator, because this steam can run the turbines, and in turn we can get lots of energy from this black liquor. And also it when the waste material itself, it doesn't remain waste, and you can say that we can recover this black liquor in the form of other useful products, and that's how we can reduce the pulping cost. Because in this case, if you say that half of the material is remained at the end, and then this half material can be recycled and can be made can be used for different purposes, then it helps to reduce the pulping cost, or overall cost on the process is reduced. Okay, one of the main, you can say, the key environment challenge encountered is the control of air emission from the recovery cycle. So this air mainly, it can contain many different types of gases. So main concern have been historically been particulate matter, you can say the particles basically, and also TRS stands for the total reduced sulfur gases. Total reduced sulfur gases, it means sulfur in its reduced form. So it could be H2S mainly, and then there are other gases that can be part of this air emission. They are sulfur dioxide and also nitrogen oxide based. You can say that NOx type of, it could be NO, NO2 or N2O. These type of gases can be part of this air emission. Recently, there is increasing focus on other gases such as HCl, NH3, carbon monoxide, methanol, and other volatile organic compounds. So because these are all foul gas, some of them are foul smelling gases, or other gases, they have their damaging effect on the environment. So we have to make sure that there is the least damage is caused to environment. So these, when we talk about these kind of gases are the air emissions, we say that particulate matter basically are emissions. They are mainly from the recovery boiler, the smelt dissolving tank, and the lime kiln. So they are basically three parts from which we can get these particles in the air emissions. One of them is recovery boiler, and the other one is smelt dissolving tank and the lime kiln. Smelt is basically the solid material that deposits on the bottom surface of furnace. And then the lime kiln, you remember that where we treat sodium carbonate and with the calcium oxide or lime, and then we get sodium hydroxide in return. And the modern recovery boilers, they are equipped with different sectionalized dry bottom electrostatic precipitators. So this is how we can encounter these problems, like these particles can be reduced in the air emissions when we have some electrostatic precipitators that operate at high efficiencies. Almost more than 99.5% they can remove this particles. So smelt dissolving tank vent stacks are equipped with high efficiency wet scrubbers. Just like scrubbers, they help to control you can say that these emission of these particles. And similarly, lime kilns, they are equipped with either wet scrubbers or precipitators, so they can make use of these precipitators or scrubbers. Basically, precipitators and scrubbers, they have the same function. They help to control the emission of these particles in the air, to control lime dust and also sodium fume emissions. Although wet scrubbers, they have advantage of providing some capability to control sulfur dioxide emissions, but almost all new lime kilns, they are equipped with electrostatic precipitators to meet better particulate control requirements. Continuing the talk about the air emissions, then when we talk about TRS, you can say that this totally reduced sulfur gases. So these are primarily responsible for this Kraft order. If you remember, then we have said that the main component of this totally reduced sulfur is H2S gas. Then we say that TRS is basically responsible for the Kraft foul order and has long been subject to control measures, because there are plenty of measures that are tried to control this one. So TRS emissions from the modern recovery boilers, they are kept well below 5 ppm value. ppm basically is parts per million. Parts per million means that if you have million parts, then TRS is kept at around like fifth part of that million portion. So it means that it is kept at a very low level. So other main sources of TRS emissions. So TRS coming from the recovery boiler is kept at around below 5 ppm, but there are other sources of TRS too. These are basically non-condensable gases streams from the digester and evaporator. Non-condensable gases, it is also abbreviated as NCG. So you have to remember these abbreviations. They are important because sometimes you just like in this slide you can encounter TRS. So you have, if you know the exact word, then you just click that, oh, we are talking about these particular gases. So when we talk about these NCG gases are streams from digester and evaporators, then they also contain TRS type of gases. They are normally collected and incinerated. Incinerated is basically, we say that they are burnt somehow, either in boilers, or sometimes incinerators are a separate portion, or you can say that they are separate units in the recovery units itself. Sometimes they are also incinerated in lime kilns or recovery boilers. So there has been increased trend towards burning NCG in recovery boilers, which are adequate from both process and also from the capacity standpoints, and have advantage of built-in means for capturing the sulfur. So it means that to control TRS, it could be either from the recovery boilers, or it could be from in the form of NCG from digester or evaporators. So what it is, the preventive measure, or you can say the control, is basically to burn it in the incinerators that are separate units, or it could be incinerated in lime kilns or recovery boilers itself. And that's how we can control the air emission of sulfurs. And then when we talk about sulfur dioxide itself, that is, a sulfur dioxide emission can also come from many sources. It could be recovery boiler sulfur dioxide emission, but it depends strongly on the boiler operating conditions. So sulfur dioxide, if we keep the temperature too high, so that at that high temperature sulfur dioxide is reduced. So sulfur dioxide concentration in the flue gas, or you can say escaping gas, it can approach zero if the temperature in the lower furnace is sufficiently higher. So sulfur dioxide emission from the lime kiln, just like TRS, it can be generated in different parts like boilers, or you can say digester or evaporator. Similarly, sulfur dioxide can be a product of recovery boiler. It could be produced in the lime kiln part or other parts. So in the one sulfur dioxide that is from the recovery boiler, it can be controlled by managing the temperature higher in the recovery boilers. And similarly, if you have this sulfur dioxide emission from the lime kiln, so it is dependent on the sulfur contents of the fuel being burnt, and on whether or not the calciner is being used for NCG incineration. Just like we have said that for the incineration, basically we have discussed that NCG incineration, it can be done in separate incinerator or lime kilns or recovery boiler. So if NCG is incinerated in the lime kiln, so it also affects the sulfur contents of the air emission from the lime kilns. And also it depends, sulfur dioxide emission also depends whether scrubbers are used or not, and also from NCG operators, they depend on scrubber efficiency too, if they are right. We have discussed TRS emission as well as sulfur dioxide emission. Now when we talk about the NOx type of gases emission from recovery boilers, so basically from recovery boilers, NOx emission or NO type of gases emission is relatively low, and the it ranges between 50 to 100 parts per million or ppm values. So most of this nitric oxide type of gases, they come from small amount of nitrogen compounds in these you can say black liquid solids when they are burnt in the boiler. And then we have HCl. So HCl can be emitted from recovery boiler as a result of sulfation of alkali chlorides. Just like when we have alkali chlorides like sodium chloride or potassium chloride, when they are treated with they are carried out or they undergo sulfation process, then we get HCl gas. So if sulfur dioxide concentrations are higher and there is sufficient chloride in the black liquid, reduction in HCl emission, how we can control this one? It can be obtained or achieved by operating the recovery boiler with high temperature to minimize sulfur dioxide concentration in the flue gas or escaping gas, and by purging chloride from the system. Because if you purge chloride from the system, you can say that when we keep the temperature high or we take chloride out from the system, then there is like minimal escape of this chloride as HCl from the recovery boiler. And the third thing, we talk about the methanol and other volatile organic compounds that are formed during pulping process, and they can be present in the contaminated condensates, okay, and they can be we can take them out or they can be stripped out using condensate strippers. You can say that we can take them out from these condensed materials, and they can be dealt as a part of NCG. You can say stripper of gas is abbreviated as SOG. We can, because these are volatile organic compounds, we can take care of them, or you can say that we can remove them by burning or incineration process, and they can be burned in the form of, if they are in the form of gas, we can take care in the form of stripper of gas incineration, or if they are in the form of liquid, they can also be incinerated. So what we do basically in old recovery boilers, these substances, they also form black during black liquor oxidation, and they can be removed from black liquor in direct contact evaporators. So the need to control these emissions may eventually result in the total elimination of the use of direct contact evaporators. So it means that basically they were you can say that there are certain parts where these you can say these type of compounds, volatile organic compounds, are formed. So in the old recovery boilers, sometimes it is better to remove these parts that are responsible for the production of these chemicals. So it, in the end, in the long run, what we get, that we don't get these type of side products that by fuel like waste products. Talking about the environmental challenges, one of the main environment challenge was air emission, and the second thing is known as milk layer. Milk layer is basically defined as how we can reuse various aqueous effluents within the craft process. You can say that within the pulp mill. So this control is known as milk layer, that is, everything is confined within the mill or pulp mill. Effluents are basically the liquid discharge from the mill, you can say the industries. These are the how we can control this one is termed as milk layer, and the aim of this process is to decrease the overall water usage and also the needs for chemical makeup. There are many different strategies that are employed, that's how we can control this aqueous effluent coming out of the industry. One of them is steam condensate. Like we have a water discharge, or you can say that there is a waste water after every process. So in this case, instead of using fresh water, we can also use steam condensate, that we condensate that steam coming out of the system, and then we can reuse this water again for the process. But this requires lots of efforts to clean up condensates after the process to make them suitable for reuse. So any organic substances that are present in contaminated condensates, they will be moved to the parts of the system where they had not been previously been present. So this can have adverse effects on the process. So they are control measures too, but they are also associated with their own problems. But the point is that we have to see that which one is giving us more benefit instead of harm. So this is a delicate balance between two things. Steam condensate, actually it can help us to minimize the use of fresh water, or you can say the use of water, and it can help to recycle water basically. The second thing is the non-process elements. They are the chemical non-process elements are basically these are the chemicals that are present in the process cycle other than sodium and sulfur. They make up the pulping chemicals and the carbon, hydrogen and oxygen that make up the organic material. So it means that other chemicals that are present in the process cycle apart from sodium and sulfur, we call these as non-process elements. So these are abbreviated as NPEs. So these NPEs can enter the cycle with the wood, or they can also enter the cycle with the chemical makeup, or it can also enter the cycle with the processed water or from the bleach plant or any other with any other waste streams that are disposed of within the process. Because sodium and sulfur, they are the main you can say that ingredients, or you can say the main chemical compounds that are used for the process, because they are the main components of white liquor. But instead apart from these two elements, other ones we call it non-process element that are not very mandatory for the process, but they enter the wood like cycle from the wood or other chemicals used in the process, or there are other parts where we have exposure to the other chemicals. So these non-process elements, they can be classified into three types basically, depending upon their solubility in the alkali solution. One of them is we have those chemicals that are highly soluble in alkali, and they can build up without limit, just like these elements are potassium and chloride. Just like we have these present at potassium chloride too, and also they can be present in the form of HCl, or they can also be part of the some organic compounds present in the wood, or you can say that other additives in the mixture. So these are basically highly soluble in alkali solution. So the second one are those that are partially soluble in alkali, and they can build up to significant levels before we can naturally take them out by precipitation. So but these you can say that these chemicals are non-process elements. They include aluminium, silicon and phosphorus, and they can also present in the system or the process, but they can be precipitated easily. And the third part are those chemicals that are highly insoluble in alkali, and how we can remove them. These are removed with the green liquor dregs. If you remember, we have talked about these kind of things, basically the leftovers from the green liquids, and then therefore they don't build up in the system. So these include calcium, magnesium, barium, and also iron is included in these things. Let's see the future prospects of these recovery portions, or you can say the regeneration of spent liquor. Basically in recent years, black liquor gasification, it has been reviewed as a considerable and given it has received considerable attention as a potential replacement of recovery boilers, because black liquor gasifiers with the capabilities are still in the development stage, and full scale implementation is still years away. But the point is the driving force of this type of modification, it has been the potential for much greater electricity production, as the gas produced can be burned in gas turbine for combined cycle power generation. You remember we have discussed before too that recovery boiler can be used to produce like the steam generated from the recovery boilers, it can be used to produce steam, and that steam can help to generate electricity by running the gas turbines. But in this case, the overall black liquid gasification is done, so it means that the gas produced is much on a large scale than the original classical method. So this means that here we have much greater electricity production. However, many materials and gas cleanup issues remain to be resolved. So attention is now shifting using black liquid gasification to produce synthesis gas as a raw material for making higher value chemicals for this one. So this is sometimes referred to as biorefinery concept. Next we go to the borate autocausticizing. Basically it involves adding sodium borate in the liquid system, so it forms trisodium borate in the recovery boiler smelt. This trisodium borate, it dissociates into two parts, that is, one of them is sodium hydroxide and the other one is sodium borate. You can say that sodium orthoborates NaBO2 in the dissolving tank. Thus, it is possible to causticize a portion of sodium carbonate in the recovery boiler with small amount of borate and complete causticizing of the remaining sodium carbonate in the causticizing plant with a reduced amount of lime. Just remember, we used to causticize sodium carbonate in the lime kiln using lots of calcium oxide or lime. But in this case, what happens that we just used sodium borate, and sodium borate, what it does, that it reduces the amount of lime required, because it already converts most of the sodium carbonate into sodium hydroxide. Since no capital investment is required because sodium borate is cheaper, so we say that partial auto-causticizing is a attractive alternative for craft mills where incremental causticizing and lime kiln capacities are needed. And the third part we have here is the automatic, you can say that fuel usage in lime kiln. This basically, the lime kiln is the biggest user of fossil fuels in craft process, because lime kiln is where we need heat. So with the explanation, like you say that apart from the oil and natural gas, there has been considerable effort devoted to finding a suitable alternative fuel for the use in kiln. So the most, you can say, appropriate are the suitable candidates for this one. They includes the pet coke, or you can say coke tar, coal tar, you can say gas from the if we talk about this whole recovery process, then we can also use gas from the wood waste or gasifiers. You can say that the oil separated from that one, or even you remember, if we discuss that there are also methanol or other volatile gases are involved there. So methanol or other liquid fuels can also be obtained from NCG collection system. So we can use all these type of materials for the automatic, you can say that, fuel system in case of lime kilns. Alright, this is the reference I have used for this lecture on the regeneration of the spent liquids. It's better you go through this file in detail, and you will find all the relevant materials we discussed in this lecture and also in the previous lecture.